Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today we're diving into a deeply inspiring fable that beautifully unpacks some heavy concepts, things like sacrifice, empathy, and karma. We're going to break down a story that on the surface seems incredibly simple, but as we'll see, it carries this profound philosophical weight that can completely shift how we view success and generosity. It's a really powerful narrative known as The Legacy of the Last Roti.
Okay, let's jump right into a hypothetical scenario. Picture this for a second. If you only had one roti, literally one single piece of flatbread left to your name, would you give it to a stranger? I want you to really put yourself in those shoes. Because in our modern lives, right, we often think of charity as something we do out of our abundance. We give from whatever we happen to have left over at the end of the month. But this explainer grounds us instantly in incredibly high emotional stakes. What actually happens when your charity requires you to give up your own survival? Just keep that question firmly in the back of your mind as we go through this.
All right, let's get into Section 1, Poverty and Two Rotis, a Life of Scarcity.
So we're in this small, quiet village where a young boy named Aarav and his mother are living a life of constant struggle. And honestly, to say they're impoverished is a total understatement. It's really a daily battle just for basic human survival. Every single day, Aarav's mom is doing this grueling, back-breaking labor just to get a meager amount of food to barely fill their stomachs. And on this specific fateful night, after a full day of exhausting work, there were exactly 2 rotis left in the entire house. 2. That's it. There's no backup pantry, no fridge full of leftovers, just one flatbread for Aarav and one for his mom. So there is absolutely zero margin for error here.
Which brings us to Section 2, the hungry guest at the door, the unexpected visitor.
Just as Aarav and his mom divide up their only food and are getting ready to finally eat, ready to ease that terrible gnawing hunger from a long day, there's a knock at the door. An elderly man is standing outside in the dark, and he makes this desperate plea. "Son, I haven't eaten anything for 2 days." You can almost hear the frail, desperate exhaustion in his voice. Aarav and his mom have been hungry all day, sure, but this unexpected visitor is quite literally on the brink of absolute starvation. It's a moment that forces Aarav to weigh his own immediate hardship against the severe, life-threatening suffering of another person.
Moving on to Section 3, Aarav's selfless sacrifice, a choice of empathy.
Confronted with this starving elder, Aarav doesn't even hesitate. He steps right forward with the clear intention of giving up his one and only piece of food. Now, his mom gently reminds him of his own deep hunger. She's not forbidding him, but she's just making sure he fully understands the physical toll of what he's about to do. But Aarav just smiles at her and draws this really profound contrast. He evaluates his own situation and realizes, well, if I sleep hungry, nothing will happen. He knows he's young and resilient, so going without food is just a brief discomfort for him. But then he looks at the frail old man and realizes his night will be very long. He has the emotional intelligence to recognize that this stranger might not even survive the night. So he willingly chooses to endure his own pain to spare a stranger from a much darker fate, and he hands over the roti.
Upon receiving this literally life-saving gift, tears well up in the old man's eyes. He is completely overcome. He places a trembling hand on Aarav's head and gives him this powerful blessing. "Son, God will surely reward the goodness of your heart." In an instant, the simple physical act of handing over a piece of bread transforms into a profound, life-altering moment for this young boy.
Now let's see how this builds into the broader narrative in Section 4, Success and a Mother's Lesson, the Fruits of Karma.
Flash forward. Years pass by, and that single, selfless act of kindness didn't just fade away into the past. Instead, it sent these massive positive ripples throughout Aarav's entire life. He grows up, leaves the tiny village, and goes on to achieve tremendous success in the city. He completely transforms from an impoverished, hungry kid into a highly successful, wealthy man, and eventually he returns to his roots. He goes back to that very same village to build a beautiful, solid new house for his hardworking mother. Standing there in front of this beautiful new home, looking at all this incredible prosperity achieved against all the odds, his mother asks him the million-dollar question, "Son, how did you get so much success?" She's looking for the secret formula, right? Was it a specific business deal? Was it just relentless, grinding hard work? What's the core reason for this remarkable journey, from having nothing at all to having everything?
And Aarav's answer? It honestly anchors the entire fable. He says, "Mother, that night you taught me to sleep on an empty stomach, but also taught me to never turn away a hungry person empty-handed." Aarav attributes his worldly success not to some brilliant business acumen or urban hustle,
but directly to the foundational values his mother instilled in him on that desperately hungry night. He realizes that her example of quiet sacrifice, combined with his action of selfless charity, became the ultimate rock-solid foundation for his prosperous life.
Which leads us perfectly into our final section, Section 5, the true wealth of the heart, the true meaning of wealth.
This story totally flips our standard logic on its head, smoothly connecting the dots between sacrifice, karma, and ultimate prosperity. Society often tells us that wealth is a strict prerequisite for philanthropy. We kind of trick ourselves into thinking, once I have enough money, once I'm secure, then I'll finally give back. But the ultimate takeaway here is so simple. You don't need to be rich to help others, you just need a big heart. Compassion is absolutely not dictated by the size of your wallet or your bank account or even how much food is sitting in your pantry. True wealth is generated the very moment you decide to put someone else's suffering above your own comfort.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Is your heart this big too? When you face your own moments of scarcity, because we all do you still have the capacity within you for selfless generosity? I highly encourage you to take this thought with you long after this explainer wraps up. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope this dive into the legacy of the last Roti inspires you to approach your day and the people around you with a little more grace, a little more empathy, and a much bigger heart. See you next time.